Picture this. You're grabbing coffee with a friend you've known for years. The conversation feels warm, comfortable, just two people reminiscing about old times. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the dynamic shifts. Your friend jokes about one of your goals, making you second-guess yourself. Later, they hint that you owe them for past favors, or drop subtle guilt trips if you hesitate to help. You leave feeling oddly drained, questioning your choices, and you can't quite put your finger on why. Most people imagine manipulators as obvious villains, smooth-talking strangers, or cartoonish antagonists twirling mustaches. But the truth is, manipulation doesn't come with a flashing red warning sign. It slips in quietly, often wearing the mask of friendship, guidance, or even love. It's in your group chats, your office, your relationships. Sometimes it's even right there in your inner circle. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Manipulators aren't rare, and anyone, especially those who care deeply, strive for growth, or want to make a difference, is a potential target. In a world obsessed with connections, where boundaries blur and expectations run high, knowing how to spot manipulation is no longer optional. It's a key life skill, like learning to drive or manage your finances. So, why do so many intelligent, driven people fall into these traps? It's because manipulation almost always starts as comfort. It feels like someone's got your back, until suddenly you realize you're stuck, off balance, and unsure whose interests are truly at stake. In this podcast, we'll break down how manipulation really works, starting with the covert tactics manipulators use to weave their webs, why high achievers are uniquely at risk, and, most importantly, how you can protect yourself instantly. Ready to see what's really happening beneath the surface? When most people hear the word manipulator, they imagine something straight out of a movie, a master schemer orchestrating grand betrayals, or a villain plotting in the shadows. We're conditioned to look for the dramatic, loud arguments, shocking betrayals, or clear, malicious intent. But in reality, manipulation rarely looks like a Hollywood thriller. Most of the time, it's disguised as kindness, humor, or even affection. Manipulators are often your coworkers who shower you with praise, only to load you with extra work when your guard is down. They're the friend who always seems to need your help but never offers support in return, yet makes you feel guilty for noticing. They might be a partner who twists small disagreements into proof that you're the problem, then floods you with love or apologies so you'll forgive and forget. Instead of a sudden betrayal, manipulation seeps in slowly. A comment here, a favor there, a constant, subtle nudge that leaves you questioning yourself. The truth is, manipulation thrives in the ordinary. It excels at flying under the radar because it doesn't scream for your attention, it whispers. Its weapons are charm, charisma, and sometimes even vulnerability. Think about someone in your circle who always gets their way without ever raising their voice, who makes you feel obligated to agree, or who regularly leaves you second-guessing your own boundaries. That's manipulation in action. Not drama, but daily life. Here lies the real danger. Manipulators aren't easily recognized as outsiders. They're woven into your trusted circles, friends you've grown up with, colleagues you collaborate with every day, family members you rely on, or romantic partners you cherish. We tend to let our guards down around those we think we know well, believing that manipulation is something that happens out there, not right here. But once you understand the true face of manipulation, you can start to recognize its patterns, no matter how subtle or masked they seem. Vigilance and awareness become your strongest allies, turning once invisible threats into challenges you can spot and handle. So how do these manipulators actually think? What drives them? To move forward, we need to uncover the motives that fuel their behaviors, because understanding the why is the first step to breaking free from the hidden web. To really protect yourself, you need to move beyond spotting manipulative behaviors and dig into the psychology that motivates them. So why do manipulators act the way they do, and why do they so often gravitate toward people who are open, ambitious, and growth-minded? At the most basic level, manipulation is about control. Manipulators crave a sense of power over their environment or the people around them. For some, that's rooted in deep-seated insecurity. If they can direct your actions, they feel reassured that they won't be abandoned, overlooked, or exposed. For others, manipulation is a tool to achieve personal gain, whether that means increasing their own status, getting ahead at work, or extracting consistent emotional support. But make no mistake, the common thread is an outsized desire to influence outcomes for their own benefit, often at your expense. Here's where contrast framing really matters. There's nothing wrong with healthy influence. True influence uplifts, inspires, and encourages growth for both sides. In a healthy friendship, for instance, your success doesn't threaten your friend. They cheer you on and challenge you when you need it, but always with your best interests in mind. Manipulation, on the other hand, is influence weaponized. It centers the manipulator's needs, twisting situations or emotions so you become easier to control, often without realizing it. Why, then, are ambitious, growth-oriented people so frequently targeted? It's not a flaw. It's a side effect of your strengths. Manipulators instinctively zero in on those who are empathetic, trusting, and open to new experiences. After all, you want to connect, you strive to see the best in others, and you're willing to give second chances or accept tough feedback. Ironically, those very traits can make you both inspiring and, in the eyes of a manipulator, more susceptible to subtle control. This isn't about turning cold or distrustful. Instead, it's about recognizing that your openness is a gift that requires wise stewardship. When you understand that manipulation is less about obvious bad guys and more about unmet needs and shadowy motives, you start taking back control. Next, we'll expose the actual tactics manipulators use, because once you see their playbook, you'll never be blindsided again. Let's pull back the curtain and reveal the manipulator's actual toolbox. When you know the most common tactics, you begin to name what's happening, even as it happens. Here are the red flags every growth-minded person needs to recognize. First up, gaslighting. This is manipulation at its most insidious. The manipulator denies your reality, maybe questioning your memory or subtly mocking your feelings, until you start wondering if you're imagining things. Their intent? To plant doubt and make you easier to control. Picture this. You recall a friend making a hurtful joke. When you mention it, they laugh. You're way too sensitive. I never said that. You feel embarrassed, maybe even apologetic. But the truth is, your discomfort means your gut was right. Gaslighting just made you question it. Next is triangulation. This tactic involves dragging a third party into your relationship drama. Manipulators use this to pit people against each other, all while disguising their own role. Here's how it plays out. A coworker tells you, "Everyone's complaining about your attitude lately. I thought you should know." You feel isolated and paranoid, second-guessing who to trust. The manipulator's goal? Control the narrative, keep everyone off balance, and ensure you stay dependent on their version of the truth. Then there's love bombing. At first, this feels amazing. Over-the-top praise, attention, even gifts. But pay attention to how quickly it shifts. The love bombing phase is designed to hook you emotionally, making it harder to notice when the manipulator inevitably turns cold or critical. Imagine someone you're dating showers you with affection, texts, compliments, even talk of a future, within days or weeks. When you finally slow down, they guilt you for not reciprocating or suddenly withdraw. That whiplash, it's classic love bombing and devaluing. Guilt tripping is another hallmark tactic. Manipulators tilt conversations to make you feel responsible for their feelings or problems. Maybe they sigh, "I guess I just expected you'd care a bit more," if you need to cancel plans for your own well-being. Their intent, to make you question your own needs, eroding your boundaries over time. Rather than reflecting on their unreasonable demands, you end up doubting yourself. Maybe you really are selfish for putting your priorities first. Lastly, watch for victim playing. Here, manipulators strategically portray themselves as the injured party, regardless of the facts. If you confront them, suddenly they're the ones feeling attacked or misunderstood. "I can't believe you'd accuse me of that, knowing what I've been through." You're left feeling guilty and silenced, even though your concerns were valid. The purpose? Divert blame, dodge accountability, and trigger your empathy to regain control. Recognizing these tactics in real time is powerful. Where most people blame themselves for feeling confused or too sensitive, growth-minded individuals can now spot the game, label it, and begin to respond with clarity instead of self-doubt. In the next section, we'll dig into why even the smartest, strongest people can get caught in these webs, and why you shouldn't blame yourself for not seeing it sooner. It's easy to believe the myth that only the naive or gullible fall prey to manipulation. But research and real life tell a very different story. In fact, some of the most ambitious, intelligent, and emotionally aware people find themselves entangled with manipulators. Why? Because your drive, empathy, and hunger for meaningful connection make you sought-after targets. Think about it. Ambition attracts manipulators because you're viewed as capable and resourceful. Your growth mindset means you're adaptable. You want to learn, evolve, and see the best in others. Manipulators sense this openness and skillfully mirror your energy, using your optimism as camouflage. It's the partner who champions your dreams, then steers your decisions for their benefit. Or the mentor who shapes your next steps, quietly prioritizing their goals above yours. Empathy, too, is a double-edged sword. Your genuine concern for others makes you more likely to give second chances, to overlook red flags, and to put yourself in someone else's shoes, sometimes at the expense of your own well-being. Manipulators exploit this, framing themselves as misunderstood or in need of saving, knowing that your compassion might silence your instincts. Wanting connection is human, yet when that desire is strong, it can blur your boundaries. In the pursuit of closeness, it's all too easy to rationalize uncomfortable behavior, especially when the manipulator weaves just enough warmth or validation into the mix. Here's the sharpest contrast. Manipulation isn't about intelligence, but vulnerability. Admitting you were targeted isn't a sign of weakness. It means you have the very qualities that make life rich and rewarding. The truth is, you're not alone. Even therapists and psychologists report being manipulated by those they trust. Don't waste energy on self-blame. Instead, practice self-compassion. Owning your story, without shame, is the foundation for building stronger boundaries. Next, let's get practical. How can you check, right now, if you're being manipulated in your own life? So how do you know if you're currently caught in a manipulator's web? Most people think manipulation is something obvious, something you'd spot right away. But often, it's the subtle erosion of your confidence and clarity that's the real giveaway. Let's flip the script and run a quick self-diagnostic. First, think about your recent interactions with people close to you. After spending time with them, do you feel understood and uplifted, or confused and emotionally drained? True connection leaves you energized, with a sense of clarity about your boundaries and decisions. Manipulation, on the other hand, leaves you second-guessing yourself. If you consistently walk away from someone feeling small, guilty, or anxious, that's a warning sign. Next, ask yourself, do you often sacrifice your own needs to avoid upsetting this person? Do your priorities shrink while theirs expand? Healthy influence respects your autonomy. Manipulation subtly coerces you into putting yourself last. If you catch yourself apologizing for things you didn't do, or altering your behavior just to keep someone happy, you're not alone. These are common manipulator footprints. Are your emotions invalidated when you speak up, or are you met with deflection and guilt? Clear relationships invite honest feedback, even when it's uncomfortable. Manipulative relationships twist your concerns into accusations or play the victim, pushing you back into silence. And here's the crucial contrast: proactive self-checks versus waiting for disaster. Most people only recognize manipulation after a major fallout, lost trust, failed relationships, or a deep personal crisis. But your power lies in regularly pausing, checking in, and asking hard questions before things spiral. Remember, honest reflection trumps self-judgment. This assessment isn't about paranoia, it's about building real self-trust. Recognizing even one red flag is a victory. It means you're waking up to reality instead of sleepwalking through discomfort. So what if you spot manipulation in your life, big or small? The next step isn't panic, but action. Let's explore the instant defenses that will help you shut down manipulators before they gain another inch. Recognition is power, but action changes everything. It's tempting to freeze, minimize, or appease when you sense you're being manipulated. Most people do just that, hoping things will resolve themselves or that the other person will come around. But here's where you break the cycle, with decisive, growth-minded defenses designed to protect your energy and reclaim your autonomy. Start with assertive boundary setting. Instead of hinting or hoping for change, state your limit directly and calmly. For example, I'm not comfortable taking on that responsibility right now, or I need some time to think about your request. You don't owe lengthy explanations. The key is clarity, because manipulators thrive in ambiguity. Next, master the art of factual questioning. When you sense someone twisting reality, respond with neutral, direct questions that force specifics and expose contradictions. If a colleague hints everyone thinks you're difficult, ask who specifically feels this way, and can you share any examples? This shifts the spotlight from you to the allegation itself, removing the manipulator's power to create confusion. Don't get drawn into emotional justifications. Stick to facts. One of the simplest but most effective tools is the gray rock response. Think of a gray rock, dull, unresponsive, and uninteresting. When a manipulator seeks to provoke or guilt you, respond with short, neutral statements. I see. Okay, thanks for sharing. The less emotional fuel you provide, the faster they lose interest. The goal isn't to change them, but to make yourself a less appealing target for manipulation. Notice the contrast. A passive reaction leaves you stuck in their game, saying yes when you want to say no, or rationalizing your choices. Empowered, growth-oriented responses reclaim the narrative. You're not rude for setting boundaries. You're strategic. You're not weak for asking for specifics. You're wise. Here are a few ready-to-use scripts. I appreciate your input, but I'll decide what works for me. That doesn't match my memory or understanding. Let's revisit this conversation when we've both had time to reflect. Practice these in low-stakes situations so they come naturally when the stakes rise. The real transformation begins when you see your own boundaries not as walls, but as doorways to genuine respect and self-worth. From here, let's reinforce and expand those boundaries so they become a permanent part of who you are, not just a one-time defense. True freedom from manipulation isn't about putting up temporary defenses. It's about building boundaries so strong and stable they become a natural extension of who you are. Consider this. Weak, shifting boundaries are like a sandcastle too close to the tide, easily washed away by someone else's mood, approval, or disapproval. In contrast, powerful boundaries root themselves in clarity, confidence, and consistent self-respect. They withstand pressure, whether it comes from a manipulative peer or even someone you love. The secret to lifelong boundaries starts with recurring self-checks. Don't just wait for a crisis. Ask yourself regularly, am I honoring my needs and values in this relationship? Boundaries aren't a set-and-forget deal. They require tuning, feedback, and sometimes a courageous reset. When you notice yourself feeling resentful, exhausted, or taken for granted, it's a signal that your boundaries may need reinforcement. Strong boundaries are shaped by your personal values, the non-negotiables that define who you are and how you want to treat and be treated by others. Write down your top 3 values. Maybe it's honesty, kindness, or growth. Use these as your compass. When you're faced with a request or behavior that feels wrong, check it against your values. If it doesn't align, that's your cue to say no or renegotiate. And here's something most people miss. Boundaries are reinforced not just by saying no, but by building support systems that lift you up. Who in your life respects your limits, encourages your growth, and calls you out with love when you let things slide? Surround yourself with these people. Let their presence remind you that boundaries aren't selfish, they're essential for healthy, reciprocal relationships. Contrast this with a life lived with flimsy boundaries. You're in constant reaction mode, overcommitted, overextended, and feeling powerless. But with rock-solid boundaries, you shift into creation mode. You design your own experience, steer your relationships, and protect your energy. Adopting these strategies doesn't make you cold or distant, it makes you intentional. With manipulation-proof boundaries, you're not just avoiding harm, you're building the foundation for sustained confidence and deep, authentic connection. Next, let's talk about turning even the hardest experiences with manipulation into fuel for personal strength and growth. It's tempting, after experiencing manipulation, to get caught in a loop of self-blame or bitterness, playing the why me game and replaying moments of confusion or regret. But here's the game-changing truth. Every encounter with manipulation can become the spark for explosive personal growth if you choose to see it that way. This isn't about minimizing what happened. It's about reclaiming your power and shifting from victim to empowered strategist. Victim thinking keeps you stuck, fixated on the past, and feeling powerless against other people's actions. But growth-minded individuals flip the question from, "Why did this happen to me?" to "How can I grow from this?" This subtle mental shift unlocks an entirely new level of self-awareness. Instead of running from discomfort, you turn inward and ask, what was the vulnerability that was exploited? Where was my boundary too flexible? What early feelings or red flags did I ignore? Embracing adversity means mining your experiences for insight. Try this. Write down 3 lessons learned from a recent difficult interaction and list one concrete way you'll respond differently in the future. Not only does this build confidence, it proves to yourself that you're capable of evolving in real time. Another powerful exercise is daily self-affirmation. Remind yourself, out loud or in writing, that your boundaries are valid and your perception deserves respect. Pair this with reflective journaling on moments when you honored your needs, no matter how small. Contrast the old cycle, ruminating over someone else's power, with the new, using adversity as leverage to become more conscious, assertive, and resilient. Every manipulative encounter you outgrow leaves you stronger, clearer, and less likely to fall for those patterns again. Appreciate your willingness to face uncomfortable truths. That courage is the seed of transformation. As you integrate these lessons, you don't just avoid manipulation, you become the architect of your own growth and future. To put these ideas into action, let's draw it all together with a clear, practical roadmap you can start using today. You've just gained powerful knowledge about why manipulators operate the way they do, how to spot their tactics, and most importantly, how to defend your energy and self-worth. But knowledge alone won't change your life. Action will. The truth is, most people collect information and wait for circumstances to shift. The few who transform, they use every insight, every red flag, and every hard-won lesson as fuel for real change. So here's your growth challenge. For the next 7 days, choose one relationship, conversation, or recurring situation that's left you feeling off balance or uneasy. Instead of defaulting to your old patterns, put your new tools into practice. Set a boundary. Respond to guilt tripping with calm facts. Try the gray rock technique when someone pushes your buttons. Even if it feels awkward at first, remember, resisting manipulation once is the start of rewriting your entire story. Don't keep your insights to yourself. Powerful change happens when you share and reflect. Drop a comment about a tactic you spotted, a boundary you set, or a question that made someone reveal their real motives. Your story could be the turning point for someone else who's still searching for answers. If you're committed to becoming the architect of your own growth, subscribe now. This channel is your toolbox, filled with strategies, real talk, and a community of growth-driven individuals just like you. Share this video with someone who needs it and join the conversation. Implementation is where transformation is born. Make your boundaries audible, your values visible, and your awareness unstoppable. This is your moment to move from surviving to thriving. No more manipulation, just self-mastery. Ready to commit? Let's rise together.